Welcome back to What's for Dinner. Tonight we are having venison or deer steak. This comes from the back strap of the deer. First, I've defrosted it because it was previously frozen, and now I'm going to tenderize it. I'm going to also tenderize both sides. So I'm going to do one side first and then come back around and flip them all and do both sides. Alright, now I've got them both sides tenderized, so now I'm going to season them. I like to use my favorite steak seasoning. You can choose whichever steak seasoning you want, your favorite, to put on there. I kind of do one, I only season one side, kind of do it generously. And then I like to do basil on mine. Now my basil is stuff that I have dried from my garden. So some of it's a little larger chunks. So I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle it just a little bit on the top of my steaks. Now I'm gonna make the egg wash. I'm gonna crack one egg. And it depends on how many steaks you have, of how many eggs you will need. But for the portion we have, one egg should do. All right, to that one egg, I'm gonna add a little bit of milk. Then I'm gonna whisk it all together. And this is gonna make your egg wash for your deer steak. In our next bowl, we're gonna make the flour mixture for the batter. I'm going to pour some flour in the bowl. Then we're going to season it with our steak seasoning again. And then I'm going to put a little more basil into that. Then stir it up. I like to cook my deer steak in a cast iron skillet. I'm going to add a little bit of canola oil, which is my favorite oil to cook with, but you can choose whichever one, just enough to cover the bottom. And then we will turn that on about medium heat and let that heat up. Our oil is ready to fry the steak. So first you're going to take the steak and you are going to dredge it in the flour. Then you're going to dredge it in the egg wash and then back into the flour. Very carefully place it in the pan. We're going to go through all these steaks and do the same process. These steaks have been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes each side, but you'll know they're ready when you turn them over and they're kind of golden brown. Some of these in this pan are ready to be flipped. Not all of them. Our steaks are ready to come out. I like to put them in a pan that is lined with a paper towel so they can drain the excess grease into the paper towel, and then I like to put them in a warm oven to keep them warm until I cook the rest of my steaks, and they'll come out nice and crispy. Now our steak is finished. Now I removed some of the grease out of the pan. Now we're going to make some homemade gravy. So the extra flour mixture with the seasoning that's left over from the steak, I'm going to sprinkle it into the oil, still have it on medium high, and I'm gonna whisk. Needs a little bit more flour. Whisk again till it's all incorporated. A little bit more. It's kind of getting thick, and that's what we want. Just a little more and we should be good. Alright, now that our flour is all incorporated with the oil, we're going to let that cook a little bit, and I like to add just a little bit more of our steak seasoning. All right, our gravy has been cooking for our flour and oil has been cooking to make our gravy. And it's kind of the color of peanut butter, so it is ready. I added a little extra seasoning. Now, if you want more of a cream gravy, you add milk. If you want more of a brown gravy, you add water. We are gonna make more of a brown gravy tonight, and we're gonna just add some water. You want to incorporate all the water. It's still pretty thick, so we need to add a little bit more. Still thick, so we need to add a little more. We're getting there. Keep stirring until the water is incorporated. Still a little thick because it's going to thicken up even more as it cooks. So we'll add a little bit more water. That's looking like a good consistency there. We'll let it cook until it boils back up, and then it will be ready to be served with our deer steak. Alright, you want to keep stirring the gravy until it starts bubbling just slightly all over the pan. And now our gravy is ready. We'll turn off the heat, and now we're ready to eat. Alright, now we put the deer steak on the plate, and we're going to drizzle the gravy over the top. Now our deer steak and homemade gravy is ready to be enjoyed. Hi, welcome to What's For. This is going to be a side dish. We have abundance of okra coming from our garden right now, so this is a blackened okra that my kids and family really enjoy. First, I'm going to take all these okra and cut them up in bite-sized pieces. Alright, I'm almost finishing cutting up my okra. I'm cutting the tops off and cutting them into bite-sized pieces. And then I'm going to take them and put them back in my bowl. There's nothing better than blackened okra, and it's super easy. Alright, the best way to do blackened okra, I've cooked it in other pans besides the cast iron skillet, but the cast iron skillet is the best. I turned the heat up on high. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil. Then we're dumping in our okra. Once we get them all in, I'll spread them out a little bit. And then I personally like Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, but you can use any Creole seasoning, and you just sprinkle it abundantly up over your okra. We like them kind of spicy, so we put lots of seasoning. Then we'll take a spoon and stir them. And you just cook them until they're almost completely blackened. So sometimes, depending on how many okra I have, sometimes it takes a little while, 15-20 minutes at least. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending on how many okra you're doing. Tonight I have a lot of okra in my pan, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Our okra has been cooking for about 5 minutes. It's kind of getting a little slimy. You can see it's kind of sticking to the bottom of the pan. Most of my oil is used up, but that's okay. Just occasionally just come in and stir and spread it back out. So okra has been cooking about 10 minutes, and they're starting to brown and blacken a little bit. See, the sliminess of the okra is kind of going away, and they're starting to brown. So maybe another 10 minutes and they should be ready. Alright, here is the finished product of the blackened okra, one of my family's favorites.